Hello, I'm Nicholas Love, Chief Executive Officer with the Kulur Group, and today marks the start of a journey. Welcome to the With Love podcast. Joining me today are the founder and Chief Brand Officer with the Kulur Group, Mr. Willie T. Blue. They call him Willie, I call him T. I'm a challenger, that's just quite natural. And the newly appointed Chief Communications and Culture Officer, Ms. Stephanie Johnson. Two of the dopest, most creative minds that I actually had an opportunity to meet. And for me, it's really been alignment at first sight. We'll get into that a little bit later. But first and foremost, the Kulur Group has had a lot of momentum over the past year. But I think we have to kind of go back to our roots and really ask the fundamental question: what's behind the name Kulur? How did that kind of come into place?
So the name Kulur, K-U-L-U-R, just to be specific. We hear people say cooler, culer, what is it? No, it's simply Kulur. And that concept or that idea literally came from what the team was about. It was diverse colors in every facet, right? It was diversity in skill set. It was diversity in cultural background. It was diversity in gender. It was all these things at the table. So as we started thinking of, well, what is this thing we're going to put together? What is this about? It was about color. And as you can imagine, when you start thinking about, registered trademarks or getting URLs and those things, color clearly was gone, right? The standard English spelling of it. So it's like, okay, what do we do with this, right? But I didn't want to lose the sentiment of what it was about. So started searching other languages, again, trying to bring some color to that, right? And in the process of searching other languages, came across the Maltese language and the Maltese spelling for literally the word color. And it's simply K-U-L-U-R. Now, it doesn't hurt that I'm a man of Kappa Alpha Psi, so anytime I can put a K in something, I'm not mad about it, but that's a whole other story. But that's ultimately how we landed in the space of color.
I guess that's a real quick follow-up to that. In today's world, why is diversity so important to be embedded in agencies, really helping to kind of craft or curate narratives for some of the largest brands or organizations that exist?
I mean, at its base, I think it's about being human, right? When you walk outside every day, you don't see people that only look like you. You don't see people that, even if they look like you, it's not that they only think like you, right? Everyone has different experiences, different perspectives, and it's any brand or business, it's about understanding those experiences. Not that you have to cater to them specifically, because ultimately it's your authenticity that needs to lead, but you need to understand how different people are going to see, feel, think, and act based on what you say, what you do. And you can't be apologetic across the board for it, because you won't ever please everyone. We won't please everybody sitting in this podcast right now, right? But it's a matter of understanding nuance and understanding why those things matter to people, so that you can tap into the community that makes the most sense for you.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good segue when you talk about understanding nuance, when you talk about the vast different experiences. Someone who has a lot of different experiences and very, very talented is Steph Johnson, our new Chief Communications and Culture Officer. I do want to kind of get into the vast experiences that you've had, but I guess let me first start off by asking this question for you. Why Kulur Group?
Oh my gosh, when I first heard the word and went to bed that night, you told me about the company, and you and I had worked together, right? We had crossed paths when you were Chief Marketing Officer for Hotwire, and I worked at Hotwire for a little bit, and I went to bed and I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, this is it. Keep us loving us right. That is all I've been trying to do. I've been trying to keep the people of color loving us sacredly like we were supposed to. And everything about the brand embodies that. The culture is really diverse. It is about really getting into spaces and challenging brands to be more than just looking at their target audiences and then having that base consumer product, but really how do they step up and support the culture? How do they stand in the gap for that culture and really be there for them? And I think that that's so important today, because people today stand behind brands that embody their attributes that are meaningful to them, and that's how you build loyalty. And I think that in the name itself, if you look at all the way back through history and the connotations with colored, to have color in this light and to have this beautiful association with it, I mean, what greater job to be able to put your fingerprints around and really build legacy and really change the personification of what color means for the culture.
Yeah. So really looking forward to your voice really emerging through color. And we were very intentional with your title, right?
Yes.
Really bridging and sitting at the intersection of communication and culture, because oftentimes when these things are being established within organizations, there's misalignment happening,
Yes.
right? Communications is saying something, externally, one way, but inside, right, if you were to ask that same question, you might get 5 different answers, right, from 5 different people, right?
Message.
So when you think about, your role and really the intersection of communication and culture, and Lord knows you're going to be standing up, a few other things as well, which we'll get into. Why is that so exciting for you?
It's amazing. I've had the opportunity to work for some really big brands, ABC News, the American Medical Association, the American Cancer Society, just really big brands that, everyone across the nation, they're familiar with. But like you said, within those brands, oftentimes you have communications on one side, you have internal and external, marketing and brand, and there's usually different people at the helm.
Right.
What I love about what you and what T is allowing in this space by bridging communications, what we're doing externally, with culture, with what we're doing internally, is beautiful, because we're building brand ambassadorship hand in hand, sync in sync, so that there is loyalty happening and understanding on both sides, from your internal brand ambassadors as well as the external brand enthusiasts that we have for color. And I just couldn't be more excited to have the blending of both of those, because the marriage of that is the beauty of it. It's sustainable, and it builds, like you said, continuity of what's going on, and to be able to build an internal culture that is just excited about a product launch, just as excited about clients, just as excited about the work that we're doing. That's the utopic feeling, and it's beautiful, and I can't wait, and I'm so excited. I'm all the things.
There we go.
All the things.
So let's have some real quick fun. I'm gonna ask a question. I want both of you to finish my sentence. Okay. We'll start with T, aka Willie, aka Good Brother Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Shout out to the Good Brothers. Yo. I see the world in color. How?
I see the world in color just as being a man who has to wake up every day and live, right? Like, life is not black and white for me. I have to go out and interact with people and cultures and different understandings and perspectives every day just to function, right? So the more that I can open my coloring book, if you will, and start to fill in some of those lines and understand why people behave the way they do and how, the better I am as a human being, which is the more I can share. By nature, I'm inquisitive. That's why I'm a brand guy, because it's not about me knowing. I try to come in empty as much as I can. So just remaining empty to literally fill my coloring book with every color possible is just where I am. I hope that's a good enough answer, but
Hey, the coloring book, man. Like,
let's
hit that.
But that's real. I mean, that's how I function.
Yeah. Steph?
Oh, I see the world in color through the lens of this entire executive team. I mean, this is the first executive team in my 20+ year career where everyone is diverse. This is the true meaning of diversity and equity and inclusion that's happening at Kulur Group. And we get to be that, embody that for our clients, embody that for the world, embody that for our kids. So it's all about color. And then there's that dichotomy of being able to color outside the line. I can stay in, I can stay out. So it's on the precipice of moving everything forward, and being what the world is really needing to rise up to be. And to be a part of it is just serendipity every day.
I guess let me go. I see the world through variations of opportunities. And when you think about all of the colors that exist, right, they represent various hues, various themes, right, that make up elements that paint the pictures that we live in. I see the world in color as a challenger. I'm a father of 2 children who are both on the autism spectrum, that I work and I grind like bad breaks, right, to put them in position to have access to things so that the very people who doubted their father at one point, right, who may be doubting them because of perceptions or whatever it may be, that they're in the best possible position to be able to maximize their quality of life going forward, right? And so I see the world as a challenger, and I was very, very intentional. And we had a lot of debates and discussions, right, on the positioning of Kulur Group, right? Do we lean in with this challenger brand framing or positioning? And I was very steadfast in wanting to be intentional because, the genesis of this organization were founded on principles and that does not exist in large verticals that I've historically worked within. And I've done a lot of talking about we're an agency, right, that is not reacting to the diversity movement. We're built on it. It's within the DNA, within the fabric of this particular agency. And so when you can see the world through the various colors, right, it gives you a competitive advantage to do dope work consistently in a very sustainable way. So that's how I see color.
And just to kind of piggyback on some of that, I mean, something that you always say is, ideas are better when they compete. To the point of, diversity being in our DNA, because it's who we are, it's not what we have to consciously think about. I hope that makes sense, right?
It does.
Because there's this
Pick
notion,
up that mic real quick. Just drop it.
but
now you're preaching. Come on, Darius Love Hall.
But there's this notion of always having to insert diversity. You don't insert diversity. You are diverse, right? And your behavior should reflect that way just because ideas are competing. I mean, even amongst us, we sit and talk and it's like, no, I don't agree with that. And here's why though, right? Like, right. And we bat these things back and forth, and by sheer nature of us being authentic and true to who we are from our diverse perspectives, whether it be career verticals, skill sets, etc., it creates this tug of war, but ultimately a wonderfully blended soup of something amazing that's just natural. Not because we had to sit back and say, okay, well, are we being inclusive? Are we?
Yes.
Like, no, just do it.
Yes. And
Be it.
I love what you're saying because it's really genius. I have sat in the room with so many different brothers and sisters that are, from Africa, right? And they come to America and they say, well, it's an odd experience to have to, reckon with being called Black or put into a certain class because that's not something that they feel every day in Africa. I mean, that's what they see all the time. So to have that in the States, to have that in a company where diversity isn't, your color isn't the thing that you see, but that's the name of our organization, is just really a beautiful thing because you come to work every day linked diversity arm in arm with the whole full team, and you just don't think about it, yet we are the embodiment of color. So I just love it.
Yeah. One last question before we get out of here. One of our company branded hashtags is color for the culture. And that's a term that's been existing for quite some time. And I've done some public speaking, and I've talked about giving it a framing or some form of a definition, right? And one of the things that I've said is that culture is an action that instinctively forces you to change how you think or how you behave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is color for the culture so important?
Ladies first.
Thank you so much, T Blue. So, color for the culture is, to me, a generational gift, because kids get to see a diverse leadership of talents, whether it's digital, whether it's communications, whether you're the CEO or the CFO, and they get to see that likeness in organization, and they no longer have to stop at or go all the way, oh, I'm going to be the best basketball player, or I'm going to be an influencer. We lay the foundation for how you can build wealth, close the economic wealth gap in this country, and be intentional about serving our culture and propelling our legacy forward. It's about moving Black forward, and I love that the Kulur Group is in this space. So I pass the mic.
Well, thank you. Color for the culture, to me, is an acknowledgement, right? And you said one of my favorite words, and it's been my word for the last probably 6-7 years: intentionality, right? Like I mentioned earlier about, we are diverse, so it's not something we got to overly think about. In that same vein, there is a need in the world that we live in to acknowledge diversity and let people know that it is of value, right? And I think, hashtag color for the culture creates that acknowledgement. It's saying, hey, look at this.
Yes.
Look at it deeper than, surface, but understand people being people intentionally creates diversity, creates color, right? So this is the color for the culture. We need you to know it's here. We need you to understand it, and hopefully, it's more than a hashtag, but it's a brand on your heart.
It's a movement.
It's a movement. It's an understanding. It's a what is it? I'm a movement by myself, but I'm a force when we're together.
Come on, brother.
Listen.
Come on, brother.
Let's go. So,
Cool. Well, listen, I appreciate both of your time and the reality of the situation. There's one thing that you can expect from us. Hashtag Dope Thinkers Only. We're out.